The opening ceremony this morning will be presented by Rabbi Eli Erb with Temple Beth Shalom here in Salem, and he is the guest of Representative Paul Evans. Welcome.
Good morning. This is a reading about the importance of the Sabbath, and it's written by the founder of my Jewish movement. His name is Rabbi Mordecai Kaplan. So this was written in the 50s. The Sabbath expresses, for modern Jews, as it did for their ancestors, the thought that the world is so constituted that we can achieve salvation if, by adhering to valid ideals, we put ourselves in contact with the creative forces that shape life and make it worth living. Since we identify God with that aspect of reality which gives to life its supreme value or holiness, this is but another way of saying in more traditional language that the Sabbath expresses for us the faith that humanity can achieve salvation by cleaving to God, the source of salvation. But the Sabbath is not only a symbol of the salvation to be achieved by communion with God. It is itself an instrument that we may employ to advantage in our pursuit of salvation. We need, perhaps, more than ever before, to terminate each week with a day that shall stimulate our thirst for salvation and keep us faithful to the ideals that lead to its attainment. Otherwise, our mere preoccupation with the business of making a living, that is, of securing the conditions indispensable to life, tends to absorb all of our attention. And life itself becomes empty and meaningless. We work to keep alive, that we may work to keep alive until our powers are spent in this weary treadmill, and death brings surcease of labor. If life is to be lived zestfully, and to employ all those human faculties to full exercise, and calls forth true joy in being alive, we dare not permit life to sink to such a level of mere preoccupation with the problem of survival. The Sabbath, with its insistence upon interrupting the routine of daily business and concerning ourselves with spiritual values, helps to save us from such a fate.
Thank you. Please be seated. Courtesies. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I ask to us extend courtesies to Rabbi Eli Herb. He's a graduate of Hebrew College in Boston and began his new life in Salem, Oregon as the full-time spiritual leader of Temple Beth Shalom in South Salem in the summer of 2016. He was born and raised in Carbondale, studied music composition at the Santa Fe University of Art and Design and theological studies at the University of Denver. In 2010, Rabbi Eli received ordination as a Maggid, a Jewish spiritual storyteller, and the following year began rabbinical school. On a personal note, I would like to say that over the last year and a half, there have been acts of terrible violence that were predicated upon, at least by the people who did the violence, a religious perspective. Rabbi Eli has been an amazing leader in bringing people together of all faiths and having opportunities to work through ways to understand, work through ways to communicate, and quite frankly, he is a bridge between faiths throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley. So I'm grateful that he could start our day today.
Thank you, Representative. And again, thank you, Rabbi Eli, for being here. Hope to have you back.